Walk us through how you actually got to finding the sound that you're now coming up with in terms of production.
Well, dance music was very, I was very heavily involved in dance music, like when I was younger. Very interested in it, you know. Drum and bass and dubstep was a massive part of my life for a good 3 or 4 years before I got in the band. From 16 to 20, you know, I used to go up to Sheffield. All my pals used to live in Sheffield. Sheffield's got an amazing dance scene up there, amazing drum and bass, a dubstep scene, and I loved it. I loved being at raves. I loved being involved in that scene. You know, I saw so many acts up there that weren't, you know, had not even really broken through yet. You know, like your Chasing Status, Benga, like loads of different people that I was like, this is cool, like, and I loved that scene. And obviously, naturally, when you get into a boy band, that all it takes a back step. Like, I used to drum and bass on vinyls for 4 years, and then that just stopped. You know, because you don't, like I said, when you get in a band, you have no time to do anything else apart from be in a band. So it's been nice to revisit. You know, when we said we're going to take hiatus, I took a long time to step back from it and just go, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? I could have, you know, stayed in pop music and become a singer. You know, I'm probably going to sign to another label. But I was just like, that isn't where my passion lies. That's not really what I want to do. And so I buried myself away in the studio for the last year. Production was always something that I had an interest in, especially during the band. During the band, it gave me a real insight to how the mechanics of making records worked. And, you know, some of the other boys weren't necessarily that interested in it, but I would be in the studio and I would watch how records came together, how it would be made, you know, from mixing a record to making beats to mastering records. I had a real interest in it. So like I said, for the last 6 to 12 months, has been pretty much buried away in the studio and just doing it myself. And for me, I didn't want to rely on somebody else. I wanted to just go, you know what, this is about me, this is what I want to create. I don't want to just go, someone's going to help me here, someone's going to help me there, and then we'll just, you know, I'll essentially still be a pop artist but making records. It was like I have to learn this myself. And I did. I taught myself how to do it. I mean, I've done it production for the last 4 years, but when you're on the road, it's so difficult to really get in that headspace of production. But definitely helped to get to the point where I had the time to really settle myself down and be like, this is what I want to create. And yeah, we kind of got to, I think, a really nice, cool sound actually.
And I think it's interesting for that to be known that it's not a situation where you're just jumping on something just to be different.
Yeah.
This is deep-rooted music that you've been passionate about for years before we even knew you being in a band.
Yeah, I think people naturally, you know, you're in a boy band, must love pop music. You know, it's very easy to go as an audience, you know, the general public to go, well, he was in a boy band, so, you know, he must love pop music and he must like, you know, he must like that scene. And when I got in the band, pop music wasn't even on my radar. Like, really, I had no interest in it. But then when I got into the band, you know, when you engross yourself in something, it then starts to become obviously more of an interest to you because that's where your career is lying at the moment. And I love pop music now. I think pop music has got such a wide spread in terms of how it fits. Essentially, it's just popular music. It's just commercial music that crosses into popular music. So yeah, it's been an interesting time, but it's been a fun time and a big learning curve.
And it must be a real creative release for you now. You know?
Yeah, it is. It's nice. It's nice to be able to go, I want to do this, I want to do that. You know, people might not necessarily get it right at the start. You know, I'm sure people will be watching this going, he used to be in a boy band, I don't like that. But ultimately, it's just a process. You know, and people will get over it eventually. When people start listening to records, they start hearing what's actually being made, people ultimately will go, that is good, you know, that is cool. And I think people will get over it eventually.
I like the music, you know, I was talking about earlier, I like the fact that I can just take the musicality of it.
Yeah.
and it's not a situation where you feel that, oh, it's the guy from The Wanted. It's like, no, I'm just taking the music.
Yeah.
And that's the great way that people have been like consuming it via SoundCloud and things of that nature.
Well, we discussed it for a long time. I had a torrid time for a good 3 or 4 months about whether I should do this anonymously. And I was like, should I put it out just on its own? I mean, we did test the water a little bit with the first record at some of the tastemakers, and the tastemakers came back and were like, we love this. But it was only a very short initial period, but I did toy with the fact that I was going to be completely anonymous, you know, and just put music out and not even under my name, just under a pseudo. But then I got to the point where I was just like, well, ultimately, it doesn't matter whether it's attached to my name or not, because, yeah, people may have, you know, that preconception to start with, but if you hammer away enough at the door to be like, this is undeniable, like, people will go, yeah, it is undeniable, it's a great record. And we will get to that point. I think we've created some really, really strong stuff already, and that is all, I think it's only going to continue because I'm in the studio and I'm passionate about it, so, yeah.
So now, where does it go? Because obviously we're going into 2016. People are listening to the music. They're coming around to the idea that you're a producer,
Yeah.
DJing as well. That's going to be a part of it. So how do you see it now moving in the next 6 months?
I think live is super important for me. I think being in the right environments, the right people, you know, mixing in that scene, because, like I said, I used to mix in that scene as a listener, you know, that drum and bass and dubstep scene and that house, like, you know, the whole dance scene I was totally engrossed by when I was younger, like especially in my teenage years. So I know as an artist, it's about, you know, taking them, it's little steps, you know. I could go and support Martin Garrix tomorrow. Would it be the right look? Probably not. You know, I think it's about establishing yourself and them foundations and just taking little steps at a time to really create that artist that I want to become. And that is ultimately a producer. And I think the DJing thing comes, I think people these days, they go, oh, he's a DJ. Anyone can be a DJ. You know, I think the DJ thing comes with being a producer. You know, you produce music and for yourself. The DJ thing is a live thing, really. It was funny, I was doing a gig this last week, and there was someone there who was a DJ, quite well known, and I was like, oh, what are you doing? He was like, I'm doing a set. He was like, but most of it's pre-mixed. I was like, what? I was like, that, and that to me is weird. Like, I'm the ex-boy band member who's mixing everything live, and I took the time to really concentrate about this track goes with this sounds nice, this mix works. You know, it's weeks of work goes into it. And then a DJ turns up, and he's like, well, no, it's pre-mixed, and that, I found that it shocked me. It shocked me that went on. I didn't realise that people did that, you know, that just the pre-mixed stuff. But for me, it was very much like I want to be in control of what I'm doing in my career, and that for me is doing stuff live, creating beats, creating music.